This week on Business Mike, the business of video production. My guest today is Nalini Aubeeluck. She's an entrepreneur based in Mauritius that owns a video production company, a dance studio, and is a fashion designer as well. In today's show, Nalini shares her experience in terms of starting various businesses in Mauritius, as well as the challenges involved in each and what she does to manage each and every one of them successfully. All this and more next on Business Mike.
You're listening to the Business Mike podcast. Amazing interviews with inspiring entrepreneurs. Subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher Radio for a brand new episode every Monday. For more amazing interviews, go to www.businessmike.com or sign up for our weekly newsletter by simply sending an email to subscribe@businessmike.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Mike. My name is Daudi Mugabi and joining me today is Nalini Aubeeluck. Nalini, welcome to the show.
Hello Daudi, thanks to have me on your show.
Nalini, could you just tell the listeners that aren't familiar with you a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm basically a choreographer. I started my dance company 20 years ago, and that's how all started. And then I lived with my dance company for at least 15 years because at that time there was a big boom in the touristic field in Mauritius. So we were working a lot with the hotels. Every night we had shows in hotels to promote Indian culture. I am an Indian choreographer. And 5 or 6 years ago, there has been Mauritius tourism industry went through a low phase as it was in the world with the financial crisis. So I didn't have anything else to do because all the hotels stopped the shows. And this is how I came up with the idea of diversifying my business. And this is how I came with a new formula, a new kind of business model, which was a one-stop shop for events, entertainment, and beauty. So since 6 years, I have a dance studio as well. I didn't have a dance studio before, I just had a dance company. But now I also have two dance studios, one in Floreal, which is in the center of Mauritius, and one in Flac, which is in the east of Mauritius. And I have a beauty care center, I have an event company, and now I just launched my production department of the company. So as you can see, I took a bad phase of my life, of my business, and I converted it in something positive, and now it brought me so much positivity.
That's the reason why I actually wanted to interview, is because you're doing so many different things, and they're all very interesting things, majority of which require some sort of creativity and a presence into them to make them reach the level that you wanted. But before we get into that, I was mentioning to you just before we started the interview that you're the very first person I've interviewed from Mauritius. So I'm a bit excited about that, and a bit curious as well for anyone that's planning to maybe go to Mauritius on holiday. What places would you recommend them to go? And then also, as someone that's living in Mauritius, where do you like to go?
Well, there are so many things to do in Mauritius. Well, we have all categories of hotels. We have 5-star plus, we have 3 stars, we have bungalows which you can rent if you don't have the possibility of staying in a hotel. It's so much flexible in Mauritius, and there are so many activities like not only the beach, like the sea, sun that everybody has the impression of having on Mauritius. We have so much more to do. Trekking is very interesting. We have beautiful mountains where you can trek. We have the basic sea activities, snorkeling, undersea walk, parasailing, and all this. But we also have the cultural side of Mauritius, where you can go and meet people, walk in the villages. Mauritian people have great hospitality towards tourists. So you'll always be most welcome to come and talk to people, and you might end up getting invited for dinner in a family, you know. So it's also very interesting, and what's most interesting also is that Mauritius is safe, it's clean, You breathe pure oxygen. We're not a very polluted country. So, and then everybody speaks 2 to 3 languages. So it's very easy to adapt to Mauritius and Mauritians.
Right. Now, actually, that last point there is very curious because you're one of the few countries where the average person can speak at least 2 international languages, English and French. So how does that work in terms of school? Are you taught both languages in school? Is one language used more than the other? How do you get to learn 2 languages?
Well, our official language is English, so we have to learn English at school. But our dialect, our mother tongue, is Creole. So Creole is a broken French kind of language mixed with our Indian roots, our African roots, mixed with other kind of languages. So it is overall a broken French. So French is very natural to us, and we speak it very commonly. It's very commonly spoken in Mauritius. So it's but we have to learn French at school as well. And then you also have people of different origins. As you already know, Mauritius is a multi-ethnic society. So our backgrounds, our ancestors came mainly from India, Africa, France, England, China. So depending on your origins, like where your ancestors come from, you learn that language. Like for me, my ancestors came from India. I'm of Indian origin. I'm the 4th generation in Mauritius, so I learned Hindi at school. If somebody else has Chinese origin, he will learn Mandarin. Somebody else who has Tamil origin, he will learn Tamil. So that's how we can speak different languages in Mauritius.
Wow, that's very, very interesting and mind-blowing at the same time. So now let's just cycle back to your business aspect, and I'm going to start with the TV production and the movie side of it. Actually, we postponed this interview because you were working on a project. Can you just tell us a bit about what that project was?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry. I've been postponing so many times. I'm really sorry for that. I'm actually in a phase in my project where things are going quite fast. I started my production department in 2013. It's good for you to know that I also have a TV and cinema background. This is what I studied. I did quite a lot of workshops, and I studied how to be in front of the camera as an actress, first of all. But during my studies, I also learned how to write scripts, I had modules on lighting, on sound, on direction. I learned how to do these things, and I'm very passionate about it. And I had a very interesting phase where I was a TV presenter at the MBC, which is the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation, and there I gained quite a lot of experience about production. And then I acted in quite a lot of short movies, and I did 2 feature films, one which is already launched, which did very well, and one which is about to launch at the end of this year. So all these gave me quite a lot of experiences. And then in 2013 I decided to launch my own production company, because I feel that there is more to do in that field in Mauritius. There are not enough projects, unfortunately. We do have a cinema industry, but it's very slow. It's not growing as fast as it should have been. So I got the idea of starting producing concepts to be able to create platform for new talents to show what they can do. So this is how I came with my first reality show, which was called Beauty Queen, and it was all about modeling. It was about taking 12 female candidates and giving them modules on public speaking, personality development, acting, photo shoots, catwalking, cooking. It was all about creating new people, new girls out of these 12 candidates, and it was very well appreciated in Mauritius. That was in 2013, and then in 2014 I came with a second reality show which was named A Perfect Player. It was this time with boys, because I got some people who told me why always girls, why never boys. So boys were jealous. So I had to do something for boys as well. So this is how I came up with this new concept. It was all about adventure, sports. We shot in mountains, in rivers. We did all the different activities that could be done in Mauritius. It was so much fun, very challenging, but really, really fun. And then I decided to come up with a new challenge, and this time I'm working on a TV serial which is much more complex. It's a different kind of challenge, very challenging in fact, and I am having quite a lot of obstacles to kickstart that project. And well, I'm fighting. This is why I had to postpone my podcast interview all the time from you, and well, that's where I am actually.
Wow, that's quite interesting. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about coming up with, especially the reality TV shows, because when you're writing this show, it's not like a movie where you know exactly what someone is going to say and how they say it and what you sort of want them to do. With reality show, it's about people. There's an element of unpredictability about it. So how do you write a show in terms of, this is how I want the show to start, and then this is what I want the ending to be, especially when you consider in between, because you're dealing with people that are a bit off script, anything can happen. So how do you keep everything under control and on track for a reality show?
Yeah, this is very interesting. It's true. Well, it's true that you have to write the script, you have to write the concept. Well, start by writing the concept first, and then try to figure out what you want to show, what are the different aspects of the show that you want to put forward, and then you start looking for stakeholders who would like to contribute to the show. Like, for example, on Beauty Queen, I had my friends who are, I did a leadership course, so it was all about empowering these girls as well. So I had all my friends from the leadership course that I did who took modules with the girls. So it was public speaking, it was personal branding, personality development. So I already worked with my partners, my stakeholders before the show, just to see what are we going to show to our viewers. And then when we come on the shooting, it's all very spontaneous. So this is the fun part of reality shows. So we just the girls don't really know what we're going to have today. We don't tell them anything about it. It's all a surprise. And then they just come in the class and we start the modules and we see how they react to them. So one time I recall a very interesting experience where we were doing the public speaking class. And what the girls didn't know is that they had to write about, or they had to talk about their personal relationship with their parents. And what they didn't know is that we invited their parents secretly to be in the audience. And when they reached the place where they had to do their public speaking, they saw that they had to tell all what they prepared in front of their parents. So there were quite a lot of tears because it was a very emotional moment where girls who stopped telling their parents that they loved them at one stage of their life where they become a bit rebellious about becoming teenagers or young adults. So they stopped doing things to their parents that they used to do. So we brought all these emotions to the girls and their parents. So this was quite interesting to see how they reacted to it. So everything is filmed. We film like, let's say, 15 hours per day, and then of course we had to edit because we don't have so much broadcasting time, we have to edit to 26 minutes, which was a shame because we had so many beautiful images which we had to cut. So this is all the fun part of a reality show. It's all about being spontaneous and all about how do the girls the candidates react, and how do we react as well, because there are things which happen that we didn't plan at all. So we have to be ready to all kind of circumstances in the show.
Right, and how does that contrast with the, a television show, a series like what you're doing now, something that's more scripted? And what are the challenges between this and the other? How do they differ?
Well, to tell you the truth, I thought that it's going to be my first TV serial. I never produced a TV serial before. I thought that the TV serial would be much more easier than the reality show, but in fact it's completely the opposite. The reality show was so spontaneous. You plan things, but then you just film everything that is available to you, But the serial, there are so many things because everything is scripted. The actors have to be perfect. They need to know their script. They need to act perfectly. They need and there's the script writing, which is much more complex. I've spent 1 year, more than 1 year actually, to have the first draft of the script. So it's a long process. It's very it takes a lot of energy, and the most difficult part of a project is the financing, which is really, really, really challenging. It's the financing of a TV serial is the thing which takes all of your energy, I would say.
Right. And so now, talking about the financing part, when you look for sponsors, what kind of stuff do you tell them in terms of, look, if you give me your money, you're going to get your money back, or you're going to get new people buying your products because of A, B, C, D? What elements do you use to convince them that your show will be a success and all that, for them to actually back you with money?
Well, I have been lucky because in Mauritius we have the MBC, the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation, and their way of working is that they don't buy the project from you, but they give you commercial slots to sell. And this is what you have to sell to sponsors to be able to cover part of your production. So what I do is that I take these commercial slots and I find sponsors who are ready to invest in the show, to attach their products or their brands or whatever to the show. And in return, we also have product placement possibilities. So these are avenues that I put forward to sell my shows and to get financing to be able to produce. But in the case of a TV serial, it's a different story because the budget is very, very much higher. There are so many different issues to talk about, to work on, so many people to pay, the actors, the technicians, and if you want quality, you have to pay high. So it's getting more complicated for me, and what I decided to do is that, and you know what doesn't help is that we don't have an industry in Mauritius, and people don't understand the how do you say, the advantages and the benefits of investing in a TV, like in a TV serial. So what I've found interesting is that, not interesting, it wasn't interesting at all, it was very challenging in fact, is that I had to travel and go to Abidjan to an exhibition which is called Discope, where you get all the professionals from the audiovisual industries who come there to buy contents, to sell contents. So you have producers, you have distributors, you have broadcasters, you have everybody there. So I went there and I met quite a lot of people. I did quite a lot of networking, and it seems like doors are opening for me right now. It seems like now my project is going to happen, to start.
There seems to be an influence from Bollywood in particular, with more and more movies being shot in Mauritius, and some talent coming in here and there. What kind of relationship does Mauritius have with Bollywood, and is it growing in terms of the exposure?
It's growing in terms of exposure for the country, for Mauritius, and it's not only with Bollywood. Like right now, the MFDC, the Mauritius Film Development Corporation, and the Ministry of Tourism, the MTPA, the Mauritius Tourism Promotion Authority, have set up a scheme which is called the film-induced tourism, and this is what's attracting quite a lot of foreign crews to come and shoot in Mauritius, which is a very good thing for the country, because we're getting exposure and visibility over the world on the international level. But what is not interesting is that these crews, when they come to Mauritius, they take very little talent from Mauritius. Some of our technicians, for example, they get the chance to work on the shoots, but talents in terms of actors are not really taken into consideration. Like the Mauritian talents are used mostly for being extras, which is a shame because we have so much talent in Mauritius. So what I think is going on very slow on the government side of Mauritius is that they don't really believe in Mauritius production for the moment. There is no actual support, and I think that's a shame. It's true that the Mauritius Film Development Corporation have started doing competitions for amateur. It's like short film competitions for school students or for amateur, but I think it's not enough. It's very important to show these amateurs that the film industry, the audiovisual industry is much more than that. You can learn, you can live on that field, on that business, and I think there's much more to do on that. Coming back to your question about Bollywood, it's true that Mauritius is very much influenced by Bollywood, but I believe that we need to create our own signature, our own kind of cinema, which is very much adapted to our society, and I think we are doing that with the film that I did as an actress, my first feature film, which was called L'Ombra's Canne, which means The Shadow of a Sugarcane, a film by David Constantin. He proved that Mauritius can have its own cinema in our very own way. We don't need to have the influence of Bollywood or Hollywood or whatever. We can create our own cinema. So I think that's interesting. Like, you know, when you watch an Iranian film, for example, you know that it's, without listening to a language, you know that it's an Iranian film. Same for Japan, same for India, same for everywhere in the world. So same for France, which have very typical way of doing their films. So I think we have to create our own identity in terms of cinema.
Right. No, I agree 100%, because even in my country, Uganda, our film industry is not one that is thriving very much, because you do have people making the movies, but they do not have the expertise or the experience, and so the quality of the production they have is a bit low, and the people or the Ugandans that would otherwise be consuming this sort of entertainment opt to consume entertainment from the West, which is at a higher level. So, you know, we do struggle to create that kind of entertainment that is of high value and at the same time appealing and having an identity of the country itself. Nigeria do well in that particular department, because, you know, they really represent their culture very well.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Now I just want to shift gears to another aspect of business that you're doing. You're a very, very busy person because you also have a dance studio where we're actually recording this interview from. So if anyone hears a bit of background music, that's actually from Nalini's dance studio. So how do you manage, having started a production company, to at the same time, run your dance studio? Don't you get overwhelmed?
I am by nature a very passionate person. So when I do something, it's like I'm very excited about doing it, and I live in fact, what I created here is that I created my world. It's everything that I like. I also have a beauty center which is attached to my business. So I love everything which is fashion. I love beauty, I love dance, I love music. So this is what I try to create. So how do I manage all that is because I'm not the only one in the company. I have a team, and I'm just the leader of that team. So I have people working, like I have collaborators working on each department of the company. Like for instance, the studio, I have two wonderful coaches. Who one is my son, who's helping me a lot in the business, and another one is my son's name is Hans, and another one is Rishta. So they are doing a brilliant job. They are the one who take the classes, and they are the one who do all the rehearsals, etc. Of course, I still practice my passion. I still love to choreograph. I still choreograph. I'm the main choreographer of my dance company anyway. And when it comes to the beauty center, I do have a lovely lady who does beautiful facials, beautiful massage. Her name is Mim. So she's the one who looks after all the lady clients who come to us, and she's doing a brilliant job as well. So anybody who's listening to us today, if you're coming to Mauritius, you can come and taste our facial and our massage. It's really amazing. And this is how I manage everything. The production part of it, I'm the only one doing everything for the moment. But time will come when I will need to increase the effective of my human resource. And I also have a beautiful team of dancers. I have 12 dancers in my company, so they're all very well disciplined. They are all very well talented. And they're passionate about what they do. So all is going on very well. I do have challenges, of course, like everybody. It's not everything is not very pink, I do have my grays and blacks as well. But then you need to know how to tackle things. You need to be a leader. I don't believe in like being a one person. I always say that I have a team with me. If I am where I am today, it's of course I'm the one who have the ideas and everything, but I do have people who back me up, who support me to bring the ideas to reality, if I can say it like that.
I was having a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday, and we were trying to discuss and learn how someone who is running a business, especially if it's a business whereby you, the person that started it, have the biggest number of skills. For instance, if you're starting a business like a dance school in your example, you have learned the craft of dancing, you understand it best. So when you launch the business and you're teaching your clients, they admire you and they actually appreciate you. So how do you, transfer your skills to somebody else so that when you're not around, they can actually reproduce what you do at a level that is similar to what you are doing, so that can free you up to actually take on other projects?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I know people from the same field, let's take dance for instance, who are not dancers at the base, who don't have any dance background, and they decide to open a studio. So what happened is that tomorrow, if they get a problem, one of the coach do not come to work or whatever problem, they don't know how to tackle the problem, or somebody can come and cheat them and teach wrongly and tell them that this is the way of teaching, and they wouldn't know. So for me, it's very important to know your craft, as you said. It's very important so that you don't get cheated. It can be the same thing for a restaurant owner, for for a fashion boutique owner, any kind of business. I think it's very important for you to know your craft. So this is how I also teach my coaches to teach, because I do take young people who don't have any background, any dance background, and I train them to become dancers, and I train them to become coaches. So this is very important to maintain the quality of the service you're delivering, I think. It's very important to know your craft.
Right. No, I agree, because you do need to step in, or at least have an understanding of how things work. But then also there's the flip side of when you start a business, you want it to grow to a point whereby you don't have to be there for it to make money, and you also trust the people that are in place. So it's one of those that you have to juggle and balance very well.
Yes, it's true. It's true that sometimes the trust part, well, of course you have to trust your team, but you have to be like me. I had a very, very, very bad experience a few years ago where I had one of my, the head of my studio who took all my dancers, and he went away, and he started a new studio, and he started a new company. This is because I trusted him so much that I became blind. I was so busy doing other things, and I completely delegated my studio to someone else. So I think it's very important to keep an eye on all departments of your business, and not to give away everything. I think it's very, very important to at least keep a part for yourself, or else you can find yourself in some very, very difficult situation, as I faced 4 years ago.
What are some of the things that you do to help yourself become better in terms of both your profession and your personal life? Are there any activities you do just to keep yourself at the top of your game?
Well, it is, I think I'm a very disciplined person. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't really go out at night. I do sometimes go to the cinema with the family. I love going in nice restaurants with the family for dinners, but I don't like clubbing life. I don't do that, and I think that balance is very important. And also, I'm a very spiritual person. I spend quite a lot of time on my own, meditating, spending time with God, and I think that's what keeps me going on. That's what keeps me strong, because everything that I face in life, I do have quite a lot of challenges as well. I think I do have God by my side to support me. I really believe in that. And also, I do things that I like that saying which says that if you do your passion as your job, you never work a single day in your life. So that's what I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm working, because I'm living my passion, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting. And also, when you have people appreciating your work, when you have people stopping you on the street to tell you that they appreciate what you do, that they've seen you doing this, they've seen you doing that. So that's what motivates you to keep on going and to do better and better in life.
All right. Actually, that just brings me to my next question, which is what sort of advice would you give somebody that wants to get into a business which is driven by passion? Because sometimes people do certain things that are worth money, like they produce work that is so good, someone is willing to pay for it, but maybe initially they were just doing it as a hobby, not knowing that it can actually become a business that people can appreciate. So those are the types of businesses you're running, your dance studio, your production company. Those are driven by passion. So from your experience, are there any things you've learned about starting a business out of passion, especially the part whereby you translate the passion into money and not end up doing something without making any profit?
Well, you're absolutely right to say that when you're doing something for a passion or a hobby, you don't realize that it can become your breadwinning job. So that's what happened to me 20 years ago when I started my dance company. I was still learning dance, and I didn't know. Well, it was a group of friends. We decided to start a dance group because there was a demand in a hotel who wanted an Indian dance show. So we said, let us try just for fun, and we were really doing that just for fun without even thinking that I could have a career in that. And then when I did my first show, I saw that people were interesting. And then what I did is that I wasn't doing that for the money at all. It was just about doing shows just because you're so passionate about what you do. So you want to show people your talent. You want to show people what you can do. So I was doing shows for free. I wasn't bothering about the money at all. And it was all about people appreciating my work. And then I've done so many shows for free. I still do till now. I still do quite a lot of charity shows and etc. Because I've reached at a place in my career where I really want to share. It's all about the sharing. It's all about motivating young people to do the same, motivating young people to believe in their dream, and also motivating all my students to dance, to celebrate life. So it's all about this sharing. It's all about that passion. And then when you start earning money from your passion, then you start saying, well, that's interesting. I'm doing something that I love and I'm getting paid for that. So that's interesting. So that's when you start getting even more motivated to invest this time. Invest in beautiful costumes. Invest in makeup. Invest in the training of your dancers. And then you don't even realize. In my case, I didn't even realize when it switched from my passion to become a business. Even till today, I don't feel that my dance is a business. I don't do it for business. I do it for passion, you know. So that's what's interesting. I always say the young people who come to me to do things that you like, to do things that you love. It has to be something that you never get tired of doing. Like you wake up in the morning, that's what you're thinking about. You go to sleep at night, that's what you're thinking about. You can do that thing till 2 a.m. and you still don't get tired because that's what you love, you know. So my son has he's 22 years old right now, and that's what I teach him. I tell him you have to do something. If it's not dance, well, he's a dancer as well now. He teaches in my studio, but I tell him that if that's not the thing that you want to do, just don't do it. Do something that you love. I think that's very important to have a quality life, and I think that's also my answer to your previous question to where you asked me how do I get so driven, how do I get all the energy. It's because I'm doing things that I love. That's the answer.
Right, and I couldn't agree more, because all of us have different passions and skills, and for as long as what you're doing has value and is of quality, you can find a way of turning it into a career. There's nothing that can't be turned into a career.
Definitely. Well, sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to start by doing it like a hobby, like a part-time thing. But then you have to you should never stop believing in your dream. You should always work towards that direction to make your dream happen. Because I believe we live only once. So if you live only once and you can't achieve your dream, I think you missed something in your life, because that moment will never come again. So I would really motivate everybody listening to us to take the risk, take calculated risk, of course. Don't just take risk like that, but take calculated risk to be able to live your dream. Because if ever you don't try, you might regret it later. So I think it's worth trying.
So this is the final question. If you were cast away to a desert island and you could take one movie with you, if you could take one book with you, and if you could take one song with you, which one of each would you take with you?
Well, the book I can straight away telling you that's a very easy one. That would be my Bible, which is very precious to me. And the film, I don't know. Well, the film that I would do, maybe make a video of my family and my friends and my environment, and keep that video preciously with me on that isolated island, because I'm very much attached to my family and my environment. So that would be the film I would bring with me. And the song could be, I don't know, something, maybe a Sega, just to keep me high-spirited. I don't know if you know about the Sega. The Sega is our folkloric music and our folkloric dance, which is very much rhythmic and very much inspired from African music. So, yeah, to keep me happy, why not a Sega?
Right, well, that brings us to the end of the interview, and thank you so much, Nalini, for making the time to do this interview with us. I really appreciate it, and we've learned so much about Mauritius itself, about yourself and everything that you're doing. I would really encourage everyone to check out your website. Can you just give us more details of where people can find you on social media and the website?
Sure, so I have my website, which is very easy. It's www.NaliniAubeeluck.com. So Nalini Aubeeluck is my name. So you just type www.NaliniAubeeluck.com. And I'm also by the same name on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm everywhere. I'm very much into social media.
Right, well, thank you once again, Nalini, and we wish you the very best in all your endeavors.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me on your show. I think it's a really wonderful show, and I'll keep on listening to all the interviews, because you never stop learning. I'm sure I can learn from other entrepreneurs on your show, which can share great things for me to stay motivated.
Right, thank you, Nalini.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Business Mike podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to listen to more episodes just like this one, simply go to businessmike.com. I would love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions or feedback, you can reach me on Twitter at Daudi Mugabe, on Facebook at Business Mike, or email. That's daudi@businessmike.com. Don't forget, we have a brand new episode every Monday. And until then, take care.